WWF, what the world is watching.
Welcome, everybody, to Around the Mat Pod. We are back. I was off last week, but a lot of things happening in the wrestling world. The draft was complete. Backlash happened. All things happening in AEW, and I cannot wait to talk about it with the two folks I got joining me. But before we do that, if you're watching live on Twitch, thank you for checking in. Appreciate y'all. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button, comment, share, tell your friends if you like what you hear. If you want to join us sometimes, drop a comment, man. We love having new guests on the show, all that good stuff. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, don't forget to hit that 5-star or the 1-star, either one, man. I like to see what you guys comment and how you're feeling about the pod, all of those good things. It is a brand new week. I am your host, PJ North. And this week we got the Heart Foundation tee. I'm gonna mix it in. I'm gonna do the t-shirt on my part of it here before we get into it. But with all that being said, we are Around the Mat, where we go around the mat. I judge my friends and people's opinions on professional wrestling, and we crown a world champ at the end of it. And with that being said, let me bring in the bottom right. He is back, no sleeves, the Ticket God Freddie Fresh. Fresh, what's going on, baby?
Back where I belong, back on the pod. Happy to be here. Happy to talk some wrestling.
I love it. And in the bottom left, we got a brand new guest. The reason, the man that all of this exists. He is the resident authority figure in the wrestling marks. Chat, he is the mid-Carter. He is Miguel Minetti. He is McMahon. Miguel, what up, baby?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. Your tribal chief is in the house.
My man, I'm just glad to see you back. We finally got you on the pod. He just for everyone's awareness, Miguel used to host a podcast with Fred and all those folks, and Nick Fiorentino, who's here as well. And shout out to Nick. He was one of our top guests so far. And I met them.
Long live Mark Side of the Ring.
And
right.
yeah, man, it was great. That's how I met all these guys, and it's cool to have Miguel on the pod this week and talk a little wrestling. Before we do it, everybody, before we go too far, Fred, you're looking like a tanned god. How was Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico was awesome. Had a great time. Really enjoyed it. Had some rain, but made the best out of it. Got to still enjoy the weather, and yeah. Wish I was still there, you know.
Did you do the Stone Cold impression on anybody or no?
You know what? I don't think the Stone Cold impersonation.
I know you try to keep it in around the folks, right around the biz. I know you try to keep it in.
It may have. No, I don't think it did slip out. I don't think it did.
All right.
I got to make up for that this weekend, maybe.
I'll show the picture of Fred, man. He was dapper at the wedding, so I'm glad to see Freddie back. And Miguel, what's new in your world, man? Anything else in the anything outside of wrestling or anything you want to talk about? Tell people about?
Yeah, just, I'm going to be a father soon, so getting ready for that. And
can't wait to send mad wrestling gifts. That's all we're ever sending to that baby is wrestling gifts.
So excited, we're getting a new place, her and I. So just a lot going on, but happy I could join you guys.
Well, thank you for making time, man. Thank you for making time. I do appreciate it. With that being said, we are going to kick it off today. Vive la Francais. I believe the French should have all the pay-per-views, man. Backlash was electric. I got to watch it. I was working a race last weekend in Bowling Green, so luckily the race was kind of in an intermittent state, and they were going through the rounds, so all of my content stuff happens later on, and I was able to sit and watch the pay-per-view. Unbelievable. From start to finish, just, man, the international crowds are really, really unbelievable, right? Just exceptional things. I was like, this is so crazy. I love how this was feeling. And, of course, like everybody said, right, it's a little bit, we know what's going to happen. We kind of expected it. It's the first pay-per-view after Mania, right? They're not changing the titles, right, to a certain extent for people who just won them. But, man, it was still awesome. I thought the whole thing was great. I was Cody, AJ match. Like, could you have asked for anything better? And I think this is the point that I'm glad to have Miguel here because he's a big H mark, and so we'll get into that. But H is really like putting it on, man. Triple Paul's got it figured out where he's like, hey, let's tell this story, but like everybody wants bangers. We can put on bangers. We can do that. We don't have to send out our worst wrestlers. And when we do, we'll still make some sort of thing about it, right? Like even their worst wrestlers are still having like really good matches to a certain extent, right? And doing the thing. So Backlash for me, was one of the top few pay-per-views I've seen in the last couple of years, just like crowd participation-wise. I mean, they didn't stop the entire 4 hours. Like, they were just nonstop. That's like, I understand that they play soccer there and they get that, and that's like a thing, but like, holy shit. So I thought that was pretty good. But Fred, you of course had to watch afterwards, so I'm going to let you go last. But Miguel, you were watching live. You're giving feedback in the chat. What was your thoughts, to tell the people?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that came to my mind when I was watching it, and I happened to be watching with my brother, I said, this might be the best crowd I've ever seen, right? And the only other crowd I could compare it to, or one of the few, was last year's Backlash.
Puerto Rico, right? Just right? Unbelievable.
2 years in a row, Backlash just swinging, hitting a home run. And to your point, PJ, overall, the pay-per-view was tremendous, but probably one of the more predictable cards that I've ever seen.
Yeah, right? I mean, I'm sitting atop. You saw me. I'm sitting atop of the standings right now, going 5 for 5 with the bonus 5. I was like, let's rip.
That's right.
It was predictable, like you said.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show you what an amazing, lively crowd, right? And they weren't just lively. I mean, they were just incredibly over the top, and I mean that in the most positive way possible.
Agreed.
Right? They were, for the entire 3.5, whatever it was, show, they were just on their feet cheering and doing some of the best chants I've ever seen. So overall, one of the most fun pay-per-views that I think I've watched in recent memory.
I agree. Freddie Fresh, you had to watch afterwards. I don't think you were watching it at the dinner. So what was your feedback seeing it afterwards?
No. So ironically, though, somebody on the bus to the wedding on the shuttle had it on their phone. And
okay.
So I did see a little bit of it, but I mean, not enough to like really see anything that was happening.
Sure.
But I obviously I went back and watched it, and everybody was talking about the crowd. And I figured, all right, the crowd was going to be good. I've seen good crowds, like referenced Puerto Rico last year and all that. But I said, holy shit.
Have you ever seen an American crowd like that? Realistically, in the past 25 years, has there ever even been an American close at all? I can't think of a single one.
I mean, I know everybody, the Garden is the Garden, right? And Chicago gets an amazing reputation, as they should, right? But nothing.
But they're not cheering for 4. They're not going to New York and cheering for 3 hours.
No.
I didn't even stand the entire length of WrestleMania. So, like, what am I? You know what I mean? Like,
it was not what I expected. I expected it to be loud. I don't think I've ever seen, like, that level, at least throughout the entire show.
Sure.
It was absolutely...
and I was thinking of a crowd in America that could relate, and probably the closest, and I remember them being on their feet and cheering loud almost the entire show, was the 2006 One Night Stand, right, Fred? And I think you were there.
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, you were there. Okay, so that's a good one, right?
The 06 was good, too, but the 05 crowd.
05, okay, yeah, I got the...
I mean, both were good, but the 05 crowd.
But 06 is where RVD beats Cena.
Yeah, no, that was crazy.
Yeah, so, like, that's... Okay, so think about that. That's a good example, Miguel, too, is, like, the ECW stuff that you watch on TV is realistically the closest thing I can think of. Even in, like, the Attitude Era... The fans are going crazy during certain spots, but they're not going crazy the whole time. The French never sat down.
No.
So
I honestly didn't think they were going to be that crazy of a crowd because I don't know. I didn't get that vibe from French people. I don't know.
I've never seen, after literally every 2 count, a chant breakout. Right?
Yeah. So did you see the thing on that? Did someone share that in the chat?
No, I don't think so.
So there was
I know something to do with it.
Yeah, there's a tweet about that. So the 2 guys on French commentary have been the WWE French commentary team for like however long, right? It's been going on. And so they started that on the broadcasts. And so the fans picked up on that. Very similar to like whatever JR stuff does, right? Or any of those types of things, catchphrases. And I saw someone tweet about that, and they were like, these guys were the voice of our generation of wrestling fandom. That's where this came from. And I thought that was really, really cool. I thought that was, like, pretty awesome that they did it. And I was like, okay, I get it. And especially if you're only going to get it once, right? So it's not that annoying because you're only getting it once. You're getting this pay-per-view one time. It's not going to happen for another however many years. So I thought that was good.
I think, not to cut you off, but that's what I think is a big part of it when we do these international shows is most of these people have never – been to a pay-per-view, at least not in their home country, right? Some of them may have traveled to WrestleMania or SummerSlam, shit like that, but there's never been a pay-per-view in France. Not even one years ago, like, WWE used to do the UK pay-per-view exclusives, Rebellion, Insurrection.
Yeah, this is the first ever, right? So
right. So for a lot of people, there's a difference between getting a house show once a year and getting a pay-per-view, let alone the first pay-per-view right after WrestleMania. So they were jacked, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if WWE went back there saying next year they would be just as lively.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. Even if it's once a year, you can get lit for once a year, right? Like, and if that's the type of thing, like Puerto Rico, I don't know. I didn't watch back that last one. When were they there before Backlash? They were in, oh my gosh, it was another
New Year's
picture.
Revolution.
Yeah, New Year's Revolution, right?
Oh,
and
right.
they were still pretty electric then too. So like,
Yeah.
I think if you give it to them, you know, that's what the people want. So I thought that was pretty good, man.
Triple H was on top, and they were still happy. Go figure.
Wait, and how about that opening match, right? How much
Oh,
fun was
amazing!
So I'm glad that you brought that up too. So the opening match was really unbelievable. I was like, damn, these guys are going at
And they
40 minutes long.
Yeah, and I honestly thought, I mean, going into it, I was excited for all 5 matches, but I really thought Cody and AJ was going to be match of the night. But to me, the Bloodline versus KO and Randy Orton was probably my favorite match. I mean, from the second the bell rang to the very end when Tangaloa interfered, I was like, wow, this was an awesome match. And obviously a crowd was a big part of it. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were electric the whole and I think that's true, too, is that they were I thought it was just so good because I was like, oh, they're going to lead with this, which makes sense to lead with it because Tonga couldn't sit out under the ring the whole night. But other than that botch, and you didn't see it, the only reason it's a botch is because you saw it. You didn't see it on TV because the ref, right, they had the camera view and everything. Mm-hmm. But that's the only thing. It's like, man, I've seen him wrestle in New Japan. It's pretty bad. So like, I'm not super pumped about that. But otherwise, him debuting was cool because I think the more they add to it in a cool manner, it's not like NWO where they're just adding people, right? There's a cool factor added with adding Tangaloa from, you know, Gorillas of Destiny and stuff like that with Tama that I think is really cool. They still have another brother, Hikuleo, who's very good too. So like, there's an opportunity to bring in a lot of different guys and spread them out. Again, it's not like that's the thing with like the Zilla Fatu and then, God, why am I losing my mind today?
Jacob Fatu?
Thank you, Jacob. So anyway, Jacob, I'm going to give Miguel a point because he just called me out. I didn't even know the indie guy.
Who would have thought that Miguel knew more about
I'm losing my
independent
mind.
wrestling than PJ North? Ladies and gentlemen, we can just end the show right now. Miguel knows more.
Yeah,
than
Freddie, I let myself down there. Oh, man.
You lost every point for this show.
I should. You know what? I'm gonna take away a point because I forgot it. But no, but I do think that the more that they add, like in a cool fashion, like that's gonna give them an opportunity to do cool stuff down the line. I hope that they do. You know, I hope this goes into Survivor Series and they do an actual Survivor Series match. That would be cool. It goes to SummerSlam and they continue to add to it. And I like someone called out in the chat, right, where they're like, maybe The Rock is running the show from behind the scenes, and that's actually how they get to Rock and Roman. With that part of it, that could be cool too. So. All in all, I do agree, man. That opening match, 40 minutes plus, and it was really, really good. It never stopped, which I thought was really cool because I was like, okay, there's always a lull. There was zero lull for them, which I was like, you know, normally there's like a rest hold or something. There was like barely that at all. So I thought that was good.
One last point I'll give about it is we got to give it up to Randy Orton, right? I mean, like Randy Orton does not need to have matches like this at his age, with his career, right, with his resume. But man, that guy went the full 40 minutes, like barely any lull. I think maybe he took a breather for a second when he was like down and out, but my guy was moving around almost the entire 40 minutes.
I agree. Fred, what about you? What were your thoughts on the opening match, or what was your favorite match outside of that?
I think that might have been my favorite match of the night, and not that I wasn't expecting it to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be that good. Just like the crowd, I was expecting them to be good, but not as good as they were. Same for this match.
Sure.
Just incredible. Yeah, 40 minutes, just wild, just mayhem. And then with Tangaloa debuting, I mean, that was cool, nice addition. I'm enjoying where this Bloodline story is going with Solo at the helm, and I'm loving how Paul Heyman is just like the looks on his face, like he doesn't even know anymore what the hell's happening. He's losing all control,
which is really cool. That's a really cool aspect of the whole thing is Paul Heyman, how good he is as a creative mind. That just goes to show you, right?
I know you're gonna disagree with me on this point, but that's fine. That Roman return, when it does happen.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
Amazing. I just picture this chaos of Solo just going nuts.
Running
and all of a sudden, Solo's like in charge, just killing it. And then that music hits and he comes to face with him. Like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
And just, I'm hoping we get it at SummerSlam. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Roman versus.
See, I think I don't know if they want to bring him back that quick, right? I mean, that's still relatively fast. right? At that
It
point,
is. I mean, that's the thing. I don't know how long he's going to be out for.
Imagine another big return at Survivor Series like they had Punk last year, and then you get Roman this year. Now you've got maybe you've got Bloodline, maybe you've got Bloodline versus Bloodline in the War Games, that type of thing, right? And you've got them kind of take, or maybe it's
that's what I want.
Yeah, or maybe it's like they add another person, so now they've got 4 in Solo's Bloodline, right? And on the other side, they've convinced Jimmy and Jay, and maybe Jay's like, all right, we got to recruit somebody, we got to call the homies or something, right? You know what I mean?
What if they got Sami Zayn back?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's like so many opportunities. That's the cool thing about the whole Bloodline thing as a whole. And what I've always said is, I was upset that Sami lost. I was upset that they beat Cody, but I never, even as the story continued, I never stepped away. Was like, that was dumb. I was mad about the Sami thing because I think like you're in Montreal. But point being is that as you look in the book now, right? You're at this part of the chapter of it. You're like, I don't know if that was their actual long game, but it has played out pretty damn well now that Triple Paul took over.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Looking back, right? And I know everyone was pissed. Like, I know we joke around, and Fred and I, for those of you that don't know, we're huge Roman fans, and PJ's not. But looking back, PJ, could you actually confidently say that you would have been happier with Sami Zayn as champion that night versus what they've done with Cody? There's no way.
No, 100% no. That's what I'm saying. I was just mad in the moment because and that's the thing, is that it elicits the Bloodline story when it's done correctly. Here's the thing, and I saw that they did the same finish so many times that it was played out. It's eliciting that feeling though. That is what the point of pro wrestling is. It elicits a feeling because you have a connection to it. So yeah, I was mad. I was like, how are you going to lose? How's Sami Zayn going to lose in Montreal? It's the largest. Right. That fan base was nuts, right? Montreal was crazy during that match. And so I was like, what the, but you're right. No, I mean, as you look at it now, of course it's the right decision, which is great because, hindsight actually is correct for the first time.
Yeah, no, I mean, Cody losing last year, which I've been saying for the last year. Let's wait and see. And I think it's just proven him losing last year was the best call because him winning this year with Rock involved and everything, it made it even better.
Agreed.
And we had the time to have the whole Bloodline, fall apart in the midst of all this. And now we got the new. It just everything is working.
This is another one of those things. I think it's going to go down as. I think that Paul Heyman did have a huge piece about the whole thing. I think he's really sure. But I think it's going to go down as one of his top. I mean, he's had some of the best feuds, rivalries. I mean, Raven and Tommy Dreamer lasted the entire length of ECW. Think about that, right? Like from a storyline perspective. So he's had some of the best storylines of all time that he's designed in pro wrestling. He's obviously had his hand in this. I don't know if he's the head of it, but he's had his hand in it pretty heavily. That it's going to go down, obviously, as probably a top 5 storyline of all time.
I think this will be what Paul Heyman, when it's all said and done, I think, believe it or not, is what he's most known for.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I do think so, too. I mean, ECW always, because they're still cheering ECW, but...
obviously, he'll always be tied to ECW, but I always thought his thing was, him and Brock. But I think him with the Bloodline, I think, is going to be...
I think he's definitely past he's past the Brock thing with the Bloodline, for sure. It's crazy. Yeah, all right. Well, we are French. Let us into that. So, Vive la Francais. We've completed that one. Let's give the next one here. So we are going to talk about the WWE Draft. As everybody knows, they completed Raw and SmackDown. Went through all their picks. The first night was a little lackluster. Everybody didn't really see. There wasn't a lot of change, but overall, I'm gonna let Freddie kick this one off. Freddie, what's your grading the WWE Draft, Raw and SmackDown? What do you give Raw and what do you give SmackDown grade wise?
I think Raw, I think did a little bit better. I mean, SmackDown having Cody is a big deal.
Yeah, but that wasn't a draft, right? Because you're getting
that wasn't a draft.
Yeah,
but
so it's like
already having him, and the Bloodline, and I'm assuming because the Bloodline is on SmackDown that when Roman comes back, he'll obviously be on SmackDown. So
sure,
but as far as the draft is concerned, I would say Raw got a better grade. I'd give Raw a B+, and I'd give SmackDown a B.
Okay,
but I to be honest, I wasn't that impressed with the draft overall. I understood the logic of the roster, brands wanting to keep their
Sure.
guys. That makes sense. You, as much as you want to get somebody, there's people you want to keep. So I appreciate the logic of it, but I think it just kind of defeated the purpose of the draft. If you want to do that, then I think the draft should just be for people, from NXT to get called up.
Yeah, and I thought that's the thing
the NFL
is that
draft, it's not like people are,
trading teams, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all people getting called up, right? So I think
maybe they should just do people who haven't been on TV, like on Raw and SmackDown, or they've been. Maybe they just do like a bottom draft, and they're like, we're gonna rebuild stars with NXT too, right? So it's like that's the draft pool is like people who lose all the time, like Cedric Alexander and Pretty Deadly and like those type of things, right? Like instead they do the social media thing. I think what they were trying to do is like half reset, but really not reset. Like continue on where they were going, but like do it because the NFL draft, of course, was going on, right? So they're building off that algorithm and things, right?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the concept of like I said, of wanting to keep people, and I don't think everybody needed to, because if you move everybody, then you're basically
you're switching shows, right?
The different show.
Yeah, and they're assuming that people are watching shows independently of each other.
And
I don't think that's true, right?
No. Maybe in the beginning, like there was a time period, maybe like say 02, 03, where people.
But really, were you like? I mean, they tried to make it WCW.
No, I watched fucking Velocity, but
he still watch Velocity.
I still watch Velocity reruns.
Level Up every Friday.
Yeah. So no, I don't think. At least, I mean. Yeah, maybe sometimes one show is better than the other, but I'm going to watch both.
And I think that makes sense. But Miguel, what about you?
I think it's got to be redone.
No, that's fair.
I think the thing about the draft is, right, and I think we saw kind of behind the curtain when you go on social media that they say, and again, who knows what, the dirt sheets. I know how PJ feels about the dirt sheets.
That's right.
But apparently the thing was that Triple H was pretty happy with how the roster was prior to the draft, right? And
sure.
I think the interesting thing though is I saw like 33 or 34 people either moved to a different roster or moved up from NXT. So when you think about it, there was some change, right? But I think the stars, for the most part, none of them switched brands, right? I mean, Seth Rollins is still on Raw. Priest is on Raw. Cody was doing both, but now he's permanently SmackDown. Roman he undeclared himself from the draft or what have you, but he's probably going to go back to SmackDown. CM Punk was on Raw. He stays on Raw. So I think from that perspective, you didn't see any huge stars. AJ Styles, LA Knight still on SmackDown. Raw. So, right, like I don't think Drew McIntyre is still on Raw. I don't think any of the big players, big stars switched, and that's probably why some people like Fred were feeling a little bit like it was a lackluster draft. Sure. But overall, I mean, I would say I agree with Fred's ratings, right? I think Raw did a little bit better, B+, SmackDown did a B. But, I think the thing with Raw is the fact that it's got a bigger roster because it's still 3 hours. I think the $1 million question is, when it goes to Netflix in January, is it staying 3 hours, right? Yeah, because if it is, then they need to keep more people than SmackDown do. But if not, it's going to be interesting to see how next year's draft is, because if both shows are going to be 2 hours long, next year, I feel like a lot of people are either going to get shaved off and sent down to NXT, or unfortunately, there's going to be some more cuts going on.
Sure. And Fred, I cut you off earlier, but when you watch all the shows as well, I mean, we all kind of keep up, but you're probably watching most diligently. But the NXT call-ups were all relatively expected to a certain extent. Not expected, but they were amazing. The fact that they didn't tell, my understanding, right? We don't know, but the fact they didn't tell Kiana James. They obviously didn't tell Lyra Valkyria, because there's no way she would have acted that way, because she has zero personality. She doesn't. So there's no way that they told her ahead of time, right? Which I thought was cool. So I did think those call ups were really good. I thought the fan base and the wrestlers sitting in the crowd and doing it like a draft was probably the best. That was my favorite
part of the draft, was the NXT aspect of it. That's why I think. I mean, yes, you can't have as many picks, obviously, because you can't clean out NXT.
Sure.
But that's my favorite part of it. So I wish there was a way that they could do, like, all right, you have the draft, but the draft is just NXT, and then maybe you can do like a trade period or something like that. And
they used to do the trades a lot too, right? They used to do the swaps.
So
Taker had an idea, right? Didn't he say something about the draft, make it more like the NFL draft? And I forget what his one suggestion was, but I
yes, he did say. I forget too. It was on his podcast.
I think he said like make it so kind of like in the NFL draft when a player gets drafted, they're actually there, right? They can go on stage and maybe get like a branded shirt or what have you. I think he came up with something, and I was like, oh, that's actually a cool idea.
They used to do that with the shirts.
They did.
Yeah, the only thing is with that, right, is like if they try to make it too like it's still predetermined, right? So there's like I think the NXT route is the best decision, and you just do 7 rounds. And you get 1 person per round, and you do the first 3 or 4 on Raw, and you do the last 3 on SmackDown, and it's random. You're calling up 14 people from NXT, and that's not. I don't think that's if you pick a tag team that counts as 2 picks or something. I don't know, you know what I mean? But like the NXT thing, I think was the best deal because the rest of it was just kind of expected. I thought the Carmelo Hayes thing coming out against Cody, that was awesome.
That was cool. That was good.
That was a good one too. So I think that there's a lot of things. It just has to be retooled a little bit because it was feeling really cool this year because you're like, man, Triple H is run. You know, there's going to be maybe, and I still think they did a good job, right? I think the social media stuff where you see further picks later on is kind of annoying because it's like, oh god, now I got to look at this to see who else got picked. But overall,
sorry, I wanted to just ask before I forget before we move on. What do you guys think about like groups or teams being drafted? Do you like that concept, or do you kind of wish it was just like
because they used to do this stupid thing where they break them up, and it's like the Dudley Boy thing. That's how the Dudleys got broken up. Right, it's like, what are we doing?
The only thing with it is though, I feel like it's like, how is that equal? Like, how do you just say, oh, I'm getting damage control?
I'm getting the bloodline. That's 4 people there.
Right. Like, it just seems,
Yeah, I think they should break it up as like, hey, this counts as your 2 picks. If you pick a group, it counts as 2 or something like that, right? Yeah, there's some retooling. I can respect
the tag team ones.
Yeah.
You know, you just say you drafted the Street Profits, you're getting the Street Profits.
There was one more thing I didn't like about the draft, right? Raw's, and Fred, keep me honest here, Raw's first pick was, who was it?
Bianca.
Bianca?
Yes. No, wait. No, Bianca was...
I'm sorry, that was SmackDown. I'm sorry, that was SmackDown's number 1.
What was Raw's first pick? It was somebody, I mean, it was somebody good.
Was it Becky Lynch? No, Becky stayed.
Was it Becky?
No, she stayed because she was champ already, right?
Yeah, it was...
Yeah. I forget who it was, but it was somebody that... it was Jey Uso.
That's right, it was Jey Uso. It was Jey Uso.
So, my only thing, I was talking to my brother about this, is, I mean, and again, I'm a huge CM Punk fan. How is CM Punk not?
Right. Or even Seth Rollins.
Are you telling me Seth Rollins or CM Punk or Drew McIntyre are going to go after Jey Uso? I mean, that's the only
Jey Uso's number. So that now here's where they treated it like a real draft. Jey Uso's the number 1 contender, right?
Okay.
So you're picking him as number 1. Your champ's already there. So you're picking the number 1 contender. Then you've got CM Punk's injured. So you look at a draft, right? Like, oh man, this guy's got health issues. Do I want to draft him here, right? Okay. Drew McIntyre was also hurt at that time, right? Same situation. So they're kind of picking through that. Plus, that's my theory behind it. If they are, and that's probably looking in a little deeper. But like that's probably what I would say if they asked Triple H. That's what I would say. I'd be like, hey, is this a draft or not? You know what I mean?
So wouldn't it have been cool if like Michael Cole or Pat McAfee actually explained that? Like, oh, where's CM Punk gonna fall? That injury might deter Nick Aldis or Adam Pearce from picking him first, falling into the second. Kind of like a real NFL draft.
That's where they got to, if they're going to make it sport, if they're going to do it sports-wise, they either got to go all in, like you said with Taker, like Taker was mentioning. You either got to go all in, because that's the part of it, is like it's a little half done. It's half-baked with certain things, right?
Right.
Yeah. You can't get half pregnant, you know?
Maybe, I don't know. All right. Oh, the draft. All right, well... Up next, how about King and Queen of the Ring? I'm a big tournament fan. I like tournaments in wrestling. I think they're cool because it gives us matchups. King and Queen of the Ring right now are in full effect, and they're going to Riyadh, right? Is that where, or they're going to Jeddah? One or two? Jeddah. Riyadh's the other one at Crown Jewel. Okay.
Yeah.
So Jeddah, and I think the matches that they had Monday were unbelievable. I was like, holy shit. This is awesome, dude. And I was giving Miguel a hard time, right? I was like, oh, man, where's the storytelling here, right? It's like that is the story, which is a great point.
It was a little too much wrestling for me, to be honest.
I knew.
I literally had just watched a fucking pay-per-view before, because I got home Monday and I watched Backlash on Monday, so I had just watched.
Fred's never watched that much in-ring action.
Oh, I was waiting. Somebody give me a fucking promo.
Fred's like somebody cue Jackie Redmond, please.
Jesus
somebody
Christ.
cue
My
Jackie
favorite part
Redmond.
of Raw was the Punk promo.
Wait, I will say this though, and I'm being dead honest here. My favorite part of Raw was the CM Punk promo.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I'm kidding, but that was my favorite part.
I mean, I love the matches, but I think CM Punk's promo was the highlight of my night. I love the feud with him and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I think they're doing
really
a great job extending that.
So I guess I'm having a feeling it'll happen at SummerSlam, is what I'm thinking. Possibly for the world title, because I think Drew's going to win the title at Clash of the Castle.
Yeah, I think that makes enough sense for Damian Priest, right? They give him, because here's the only thing about that statement is that I do think it has to be Finn versus Damian at Clash. It has to be. And then maybe Drew comes in or something, or maybe Drew wins the Money in the Bank, and then we get it later, something like that.
Can we stretch and do Finn versus Damian at SummerSlam? We got Drew and Punk, Finn and Damian.
Yeah.
And Finn and Damian wouldn't even need the title.
Maybe Punk costs Drew another time honestly, at home. That would be sick, right. As if Punk costs him at home. And then they go to Cleveland. Oh, that would be sick.
Yeah, so, I mean, because honestly, like, yes, Punk and Drew for the title would be awesome at SummerSlam. Yeah. But it doesn't need to be for the title.
No, for sure.
And honestly, though, in my opinion, if they do it right, neither does Finn Balor and Damian Priest, because the breakup of the Judgment Day is the story there. So neither one really needs the title, which is great. You know,
I just think if you're going to – I think that Drew – I do think that Damian and Finn has to happen. And I think it would be cool – whenever it does happen, it's going to be pretty cool, but that has to build, and they've got to do something with that because that's going to be awesome. And I agree.
And the whole thing with Dominic and Liv and
there's so much. There's
a lot happening, you know.
That they've done a great job of not letting the bloodline overrun everything, because on SmackDown it does, right? Unfortunately, SmackDown is just it's right. It's pretty brutal. Where it's like not brutal, but just in the sense of like that you're only waiting for the bloodline. But with with Judgment Day and everybody, they've done a great job of allowing it to like really speak for itself and have different pieces within that. But I do think it would be really, really cool. My thought of like the best case scenario for Damian versus Finn is JD McDonough costs Damian the belt to Finn. I think Finn deserves a run. I don't think he's gets the respect that he deserves. I understand that Priest is the leader along with Rhea, but like Finn is that guy. Finn has done a great job with like giving him shit, and he's managed to turn it into something else. So, but for
I thought we were going to get this last year, right? Because when Finn was going against Seth for the title, and I thought Priest was going to cash in, and there was going to be a disruption there. You know, teased it a little bit, and then it never happened. But
I think the coolest thing is that we're going to get to Punk and Drew somehow, probably by SummerSlam. But there's still 3 pay-per-views left, right? Probably nothing's going to happen at King and Queen of the Ring, but you still have Clash of the Castle. You have Money in the Bank. So I love the storytelling that WWE is currently doing, and I'm going to tip my hat to my hero Triple H for doing that. Right? I mean, we're going to get to Punk and Drew McIntyre, but they could go 95 different ways to get there right now.
That's what I'm saying, is that they have done such a great job. These pay-per-views matter, even though they're predictable. We knew Backlash was predictable, right? But they still did a great job making it mean something. And then right back on Monday, further the story. Like, this is what we always loved about pro wrestling as a kid, because after the pay-per-view on Sunday night, Monday, they furthered the story. Where for the last... not counting the last 2 years, but the years before that was like a lull where like the pay-per-views didn't mean shit to a certain extent, and Mondays were even worse, right? So like I think you're right about the going a bunch of different directions. That's why I think King of the Ring is going to be cool. My hope is that, to go back to this, is the King of the Ring. I do hope that when they get crowned King of the Ring, that it does mean something, and I do think Gunther is going to win. And I do think Gunther is going to challenge for a title at some point as well, and I think he's going to win. And so then maybe that's how they do it, is that he beats Priest at Clash, or maybe he beats him at Money in the Bank or wherever it may be, and then Priest and Finn at SummerSlam, and Drew and CM Punk at SummerSlam, and Gunther versus somebody. It's like you're talking about now all of a sudden, this is my mind. You were talking about 7 main events now, or 8 main events at SummerSlam, because you've got all these things, right?
I'll give you a pay-per-view or a PLE that you haven't thought of yet. What about Bash at Berlin, right? What better way
Oh my
for
God, I
Gunther?
forgot about that. They still have
That's
that.
going to be, I think, August 30th, August 31st, right? It's going to be
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend, right?
Okay,
I
see,
mean,
and
what
that's
better
after
way-
SummerSlam. So okay.
Yeah, what
Okay.
better way for Gunther to get his
Yeah.
rightfully earned number one contendership match than Bash at Berlin? So who's he going to face? Is it going to be Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk? I mean, again, there's 35 different options that can go.
This is where changing the titles doesn't hurt anymore, right? Like for a while, it's like, man, they took the title off him too. Now it could be cool because like all those people are main eventers. Priest is a main eventer, Balor's a main eventer, Gunther, Drew, Punk. Like they have now 7 or 8 legitimate. And you could get, this is where I always thought about wrestling so crazy is that, you know, there's no off season. Well, there can be, right? You could give these people 3 months off at a time because I don't have to have Seth Rollins every week. I don't have to have Drew every week. I mean, right now he does, yes. So he works 9 months and you get time up. Like now's the time to like rotate that around because you have so many stars on top. I did forget about Bash at Berlin, man. That's gonna be a cool one too. I don't know if King of the Queen of the Ring is gonna be as cool because Jeddah's kind of like whatever, but I do think the pay-per-view is gonna be cool.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see who Cody defends the title at. And how about on the other side of the coin, right? We haven't really talked about SmackDown yet, right? Cody, the undisputed WWE champion. Did you guys know this was the first undisputed WWE championship match? And I forget how many televised title defenses where there was no outside interference at all.
That's what I was talking about. I saw that.
I didn't see
someone
that. Wow.
posted that, right? And I saw that's what made me think about the Roman thing is that that in my mind you thought they overdid the Roman thing, but then I was listening to the Jarrett podcast where he's talking about Jerry the King Lawler and Lawler's run in Memphis, and like he would do the same thing every time, but you were like he would do it a little differently each time. Right. You're like, he's going to be beat this time a little bit further, a little bit. And I was like, okay, that makes sense about the bloodline too. Now I'm like, it's all starting to click. And then I saw that, I either saw that comment first. I think you sent it or someone sent it. And I was like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And if you're looking back at all the interference, right? Obviously the interference was pretty much the same for the last year with Solo doing a spike on whoever Roman was facing at the time. But I mean, I think that's what made WrestleMania. I know we're going off topic here, but I think that's what WrestleMania so special is. The spike didn't cost Cody the championship, right?
Right.
Roman got what it was coming to him. He had John Cena and The Undertaker, of all people, cost him the belt.
So good.
I'm unbelievable. Freddie, what about, we're going to go around quickly. Who, we'll go to each of us, but who do you think's going to win King of the Ring?
I think Gunther.
Okay. I also said Gunther. What about you, Miguel?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, I think it has to be Gunther, right? I mean, there's so many people that are deserving, especially this year is the first year Triple H is running King and Queen of the Ring. But I think Gunther is just the choice that makes the most sense based on what everybody's doing right now.
All right. What about go ahead, Freddie.
I think the King of the Ring should have a reward. And I'm not talking about a fucking scepter and a robe and a crown.
Yeah, if they come out and do that bullshit again and call him King Gunther, we're firing Triple Paul.
I don't think that because Triple H hated it. But my favorite thing that they actually did was in 2002, the last King of the Ring pay-per-view, right?
The one with Brock, right? Where Brock gets a world title shot?
World title shot at SummerSlam. And I think that's what they should do again.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think's going to win Queen of the Ring? I know. It's crazy. Because they just gave Jade the world tag title. So now I'm like, those were going to be my picks, Jade or Bianca. But they're going to have to build someone new, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, Fred.
Either of you guys, it don't matter. Pick whoever has it.
You know what I would like to see? I'd like to see somehow Charlotte gets in it and Charlotte wins it. The Queen. It makes sense, right? Because she's been looking like she was ready to come back after she got injured. Like
it's pretty crazy tearing ACL and be able to do the shit.
I
am at full health and can't do the shit she's doing at the gym.
She was doing it with one ACL, you know.
Unbelievable. What about you, Miguel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go outside the box and say Charlotte too. I don't even know if they put out the SmackDown side of the bracket. They probably have, but I'm going to say somehow Charlotte gets her way in and wins Queen of the Ring. She would only be the second ever Queen of the Ring, right? I think
Zelina won it first, right?
And they haven't done it since 2021 November.
So
it was
I think that they're going to go with who's the NXT girl that just got called? Kiana James. Not her though. The Lyra Valkyria. I thought she was gonna win. Just because they like brought her up and they're like really high on her wrestling. But God, man, she's like watching paint dry. talking. Like she's zero charisma. But in the ring, and I don't mean that. I don't know her personally. I'm just saying like when I see her on TV, I'm like, oh god, this is brutal. And it's so funny. Have you? But I don't want to get off topic. Have you guys watched the Next Gen thing on Roku?
No, I forgot about that. I have to see that.
You got to see it. One, it's kind of cornball reality TV, whatever. But
is it episodes or is it one?
It's episodes. Yeah, it's 8 episodes. But they get through. So as we're watching it, me and Casey are talking. And she's like, There's this girl Emma, and they make them do promos, and they show the most cringe. I mean, these people have never. They're all athletes. They're not wrestlers. They didn't come from the indies. They're athletes, right? Well, so anyway, so as the show ends, someone sends a list of the releases in the chat, and I was like, "Holy shit! This is all the people that were just on that show." They kept 2 of them. The dude who got hit by that kick by Carmen Petrovich on Monday. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's BJ Ray or whatever. I don't know what they call him on the show, but he has this cornball gimmick at the beginning. So him and the other Duke wrestler, and they're like Jonah Niesenbaum or something like that. And they're like the Creed brothers, not related obviously, but like that very same similar background, the whole type of thing. And so I was like, damn, all these people got released right after the show aired. They're like, all right, good luck with your rest of your career or whatever. So the NXT call up, the reason I thought of that is because there's this girl, Emma. She has zero personality. And I don't mean, I mean this in the meanest way possible. Zero personality. It is so bad when she's just like, you know how on reality TV, when they're talking, they at least like have personality. She was just like, yeah, I'm that. And I was like, what is happening? Anyways, Queen of the Ring. I'm going to go outside the box. I think someone like Kiana James or something like that. Someone super outside. Because that's what they did with Zelina, right? They tried to build somebody up. I mean, Vince obviously didn't do a good job.
A favorite. I don't recall back in 2021, but.
All good. All right. We go into this next one. This is a fun one. It's called the randomizer, and it's a random topic from my book of random topics. And this week we are doing, and I like to wait till the episode's happening. It is favorite tournament of all time. So it can be a favorite King of the Ring pay-per-view or a favorite random tournament that you've seen, that type of thing. And I'll kick it off with you, Miguel. What's your favorite? And it can be any. It can be AEW, WCW, ECW, WWE, whenever. What's your favorite tournament of all time?
I think the first one that comes to mind, without even obviously thinking about it, was the Gold Rush tournament. Right? If you remember that with Edge.
Oh yeah,
yeah, right. And I think that's what catapulted Edge throughout his career. I know he didn't necessarily win the championship from that tournament, but I believe that's what got him into that heel run into the Rated R Superstar, was the Gold Rush tournament, and that was done mostly through Raw. I don't think it was through any pay-per-view. So yeah, I would say it's either that for me, or if we're talking like pay-per-view, and it wasn't necessarily the match that kind of made me think this isn't even from the tournament, but how about the 2000 King of the Ring with Kurt Angle? Wrestled 3 times that night, right? Yeah. Including a street fight with Shane McMahon when he famously did
the shattered the over the belly to belly glass, over the glass,
right? The belly, right through the glass. So I would say those 2 are tied for me.
Okay, what about you, Freddie?
Yeah, I mean, I could go with a King of the Ring for sure. The first King of the Ring that I was a fan for was '99, and I know that's like one of the worst ones because Billy Gunn won it. But I remember, that one's always near and dear to me because it was the first one I saw. Right, so King of the Ring '99 is always like cool to me. Sure. But I'm gonna have to go with. Personally, for me, the Deadly Game tournament from Survivor Series '98, because that was just starting to become a fan. I didn't see the pay-per-view live, but I remember, I watched Raw the next night, and like I knew what was happening. But if I'm looking back, I think the most prolific one of all time is the WrestleMania 4 tournament for the vacant title that Macho Man wins.
Yep.
I think if you look back in history, that'll be the biggest tournament, right? Because it was WrestleMania, it was for the title, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, pretty unbelievable that they did an actual tournament because as they
it would never happen.
Vince McMahon hates tournaments.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm surprised King of the Ring lasted as long as it did.
Right.
But well, I'm going to go with Deadly Game tournament.
Okay.
It's the Deadly Game
that we play. That was a smash song.
Jim Johnson at his finest.
Yeah, that was a smash song. I'm going to go with because you guys gave, of course, the good WWE ones, WWF ones. I'm going to go with Battle Bowl, man. WCW used to do this thing where they'd randomly pair you with someone in a tag match. And if you won your tag match, you got to go into Battle Bowl, which was then a Royal Rumble-style Battle Royal over the top to win a ring. And it was so WCW, but I thought it was so cool as a kid. And I just thought that was fun, like Sting and Vader and stuff like that. And Rick Rude won a Battle Bowl, all that stuff. So I always thought that was like a cool concept.
I never have seen it, but I know of it, but I've never actually seen it. I got to go back and watch one of them.
Watch like 93, either 93 or 94 Battle Bowl is pretty good.
94.
Man, and WCW, they used to put on, like, they're the ones that invented having too many matches on pay-per-views. They like started, and they would have like 12 matches, and they'll announce them all at the beginning of pay-per-view, right? It's Schiavone and Ventura just going match for match, and you're just like, why are there so many matches on this pay-per-view? Where WWE would like
today
1,000%. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's like so funny that people compare it. But you do have to have and AEW's had some pretty cool tournaments too, right? The Continental Classic. I do love the round robin and the G1. I think that those are cool where people get points. I really, really like that. I don't think WWE would ever do that.
That confused. I'm not a sports guy, right?
Yeah.
So
well, that's not even a sports thing, though. It's a soccer. It is if you watch soccer. It's not if you watch anything else. Exactly.
Sure. But I've heard of a round robin tournament, but I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, man, they give out points and so like I do like those a lot. I just wish and that's something that WWF I don't think would ever do, but I do think it would be kind of cool if they tried it.
WWF, I love it.
Well, you know what I mean. The E. Sorry.
I tried to hang on to that for a while. I was resilient.
Tell me, do you have a Get the F shirt out?
I wish I did.
Man, that would be sick. I've seen those out a lot. They're not a lot, but they are kind of expensive.
I want that. So there's two shirts that I always wanted. I want the Get the F Out one, right?
Yep.
And then the old WWF Attitude one.
Oh yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
It's just a scratch logo with Attitude underneath.
Yeah.
I always wanted those two shirts, but you can't get them anymore.
Yeah, they're kind of crazy. The vintage reseller guys are nuts.
$400 for a faded black shirt.
Yeah. We're almost at that point in our careers.
I have to do a 20-second plug on this.
Let's hear it.
And here we go. We're just going to go with it. So we're talking about tournaments, right? To me, the best tournament, it's not wrestling, it's sports related, March Madness, right? I love it. I live for it every year.
That's why I think, so this is why this is pertinent that he says that.
Well, so
that's why WWE is doing King of the Ring right now.
Of course. And I'm going to tie it back to wrestling in a second, right? So this year, my Connecticut Huskies, UConn, won the national championship. But what happened on Raw? My God, there was a scene with Dan the Man Hurley, the men's national championship basketball coach with Awesome Truth. For me, it was a dream come true. I saw it on Instagram, Triple H and Dan Hurley posing together.
With the point.
I never thought that was going to happen in my life.
It's pretty wild that they were in Connecticut for that, and then R-Truth gets... R-Truth doing R-Truth things, right? He's like, hey, man, we got a title match, miss. We can't fight the Huskies. They're a basketball team.
My Connecticut Huskies, and I was like, let's go. I would kill to see that match.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I thought that was actually kind of cool. And again, I'm a March Madness guy too, man. I get it. I've been a fan for my whole life. The only time I ever missed school was for March Madness. I do, and so it was funny. I never really correlated all the things that WWE did at the same times as sports. Right, so they do the draft, of course. During that, they do the King of the Ring during the playoffs. And they started it during the end of NBA playoffs. And then they'd pay off in June, which the NBA is finishing at that time too. So I think that's cool that they do, correlate the two things. I think that makes for a good time. But
speaking of March Madness, we didn't discuss the big news that dropped on Saturday.
Let's get into it.
And praise Jesus. It will
prayers have been
my prayers. I never thought this day was going to come, but thank you, baby Jesus. It is here. WrestleMania.
I prayed for it, and it happened.
Be during March Madness. Oh
man, I'll be honest with you though. I was a little worried if it went into May. If it went into May, I was going to have concern because, like I said, that's like a huge. I mean, I'm gone pretty much the beginning of May till the end of the May on the weekends. Like, I would have never been able to go. Yeah. Just because, like, those things that I do, like, happen every year at the same times, and I'm just like, that was, like, a concern for me. I'm glad they moved it out.
From the city that...
Well, I did it. I liked, Whip made a good point that in our group chat, Whip, our resident geriatric, made a good point that that it's during Masters weekend. And I'm like, I think that crossover is okay because yes, I play a lot of golf. I watch golf. But I'm not watching golf over wrestling.
Right, yeah, no.
It's you don't have the same crossover.
Week before, right?
It changes. It's always that week after Mania, And now,
Right.
but there's that like weird
Because
in between.
WrestleMania now is 2 weeks later. We're 2 weeks out.
Yeah. Oh, so they did move it out too. So that's good.
Yeah.
I forget what. Oh, that's the Easter weekend, right?
Yeah.
The damn Easter.
Oh
He's
my
working on
Lord!
that.
What a time to be alive! What a time to be a new dad for Miguel.
I know.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's
I'll
good
be
stuff.
there. I'll be there in the bright city of Las Vegas, baby. I can't wait. I also another shameless plug. I'm sorry, PJ, I'm hogging up the spotlight here, but it is my first time
This
on the
guy
show.
thinks he's going to win a world championship today.
I told you all that my Connect said it was going to be in Las Vegas, and PJ North, you doubted me. A few others in our group chat doubted me. You said, Miguel, it's going to be in Minnesota. Even Fred, even you. Fred, the drip god, right? The ticket god himself, Fred,
Minnesota,
you doubted
Vegas,
me.
Nashville, but
You said
and
Miguel.
I think it was going to be.
Hold on, Fred. You said Miguel. My Connect at WWE says it's in Minnesota. One of you, who was it? Danny told me Tiffany Stratton herself that it was in Minnesota. Nah, Tiffany. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada, baby. Next year,
pretty wild.
WrestleMania 41, the bright lights, and who got it first? Who got that information first?
Does that make you
Miguel-
feel good? Relax there,
Miguel
Meltzer,
Minetti.
bedwetter. Relax there, guy. No one cares. I don't need your spoilers. I like the excitement of finding out where it goes later on. But I do get your point. I am excited, man. I love Vegas, so Vegas is my second
Vegas-
favorite place on earth.
I feel bad for Minnesota, but they'll probably get it the next year, maybe.
Honestly, I don't know if Minnesota's
never.
ever going to, because people
Who
don't
cares?
want to go. Dude, seriously, they don't have Uber or Lyft. That's a huge thing
Yeah,
to
no.
not have that. No, they
don't have-
they
have it.
banned Uber and Lyft due to contracts.
Really?
So that's and I don't think people like that's a huge deal.
Oh, it is a huge
I mean, in this day and age, when you're looking at like resources and things of and taking people places,
Yeah.
It all comes down to the money, right? I mean, like, who's going to offer the most money? And especially if they're going to do Rock and Roman next year,
Well, and I think
there's no way that shit was happening in Minnesota.
a lot of it, I think, came down to that because of Rock and Roman and
Sure.
because of the connects that Nick Khan has in Vegas.
Sure.
I think that's what why that ended up happening.
I mean, the
Because Vegas
biggest-
was getting it anyway. It's just
the biggest box office fights of all time happen in Las Vegas.
yeah, no. Rock and Roman should happen in Vegas, 100%.
Well, we fixing to find out very soon. With that being said, it is trivia time, and you call yourself a fan. All right, there it is. We are here. Trivia time. This is where we go through the questions. I have not seen the answers. I will show everybody the card. Haven't read them yet. I just pick a random one out of our box of tricks here, and a point if you get it right. Not hurting you if you don't. This isn't Jeopardy. All right. Oh, this is perfect, too. At the 1995 King of the Ring, Undertaker's first round opponent was Mabel, Jeff Jarrett, or Kama. Miguel, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say comma.
All right. Freddie.
I'm going to go with Mabel.
I'm going to go with Jeff Jarrett. The answer is Mabel. Great job. Well, I figured you were going to get that one because it was an Undertaker question, but I like that it started with the King of the Ring.
Wrong. Woo.
At the 1994 Royal Rumble, Bam Bam's opponent was Mabel, Tatanka, or Rick Martel. Freddie.
Tatanka.
94 Rumble. I'm going to go Tatanka as well. Migs?
Tatanka.
It is Tatanka. Everybody gets a point. Point for the room. All right. At the 1991 Royal Rumble, which flag did the Warrior rip and break? Russia, Iran, or Iraq? I'm going to go with Iran. Miguel?
I think it was Iran also.
Freddie?
Iran.
The answer is we were all wrong. It's Iraq.
It was Iraq?
Yeah, I don't know how I was supposed to know that. Because I don't know the difference between the flags, unfortunately. At the 1992 SummerSlam, who was the British Bulldogs' opponent? This is an easy one.
Oh, for shit. Really?
Yeah, sorry, Migs, you get to go first, though.
Bret Hart.
Yep, Freddie.
Yeah, Brett. That's crazy.
yeah.
Usually these questions are much more difficult.
Yeah, that
Brett.
one was an easy one. All right. What country did the late Andre the Giant hail from?
From Grenoble in the French Alps.
That's okay. I'm glad that you said it. From Grenoble in the French Alps. Miguel, would you like to give a different answer?
I'm going to say the same thing. Going on.
France it is. And those were the
I should get an extra point for saying the actual city.
I will give you an actual extra point because you said Grenoble. I thought it was Chernobyl.
Chernobyl, yeah.
That's all right.
Chernobyl.
All right, that was a good one, man. Trivia was easy today. Normally, trivia is like kind of baffling, and I didn't even get the trick for
Bob
Nick,
Backlash.
hold on, my most popular, from Around the Mat Pod, our most popular reel and YouTube short is Fred's conviction of who is the champion of 1994 Survivor Series? Bob Backlund. That's not one of the choices, Fred.
I remember that. I remember listening to that, and I was busting out laughing.
I was pretty happy with that one. All right. This next one's one of my favorite parts here, man. We get to do One Has to Go, where I give you 4 of the best scenarios, and one of them has to cease to exist forever. And staying on the theme of King of the Ring, this week we have One Has to Go, King of the Ring winners. In the top left is the famous Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin 316 says, "I just whooped your ass." Promo of 1996. In the right is Brock Lesnar winning in 2002. Bottom left is 1993's winner, Bret the Hitman Hart. And in the bottom right is Booker T, the only one who has ever taken the King Booker or King part of it the farthest. I thought he did an exceptional job. So those are the 4: Stone Cold, Brock, Bret the Hitman, and Booker. Miguel, you're new to the pod, so you get to go first.
Yeah,
One has to go.
I think there's only one right answer out of those 4. It has to be Bret Hart, right? And I'll tell you why. I mean, Brock Lesnar went on to become, I think, the fastest rising WWE champion of all time. King Booker had the best gimmick possibly of his entire career. And, I mean, I don't have to go into the Austin detail, right? The Austin 316 was born. Obviously. So Bret Hart was a great winner for King of the Ring, I remember. But I don't know if it necessarily elevated his career to the same extent that it elevated definitely Brock's. Made Booker a huge character in WWE at the time. And, of course, I mean, it was the birthplace of Austin, basically. So I'm going to say Bret Hart for sure.
All right, I like where your head's at. Freddie, what about you, man?
Yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely get behind that. Not that I didn't enjoy it and it wasn't a big deal, but I'm going to have to go with Brock. Only because two reasons. One, I think, Brock, besides him getting the title shot, which is something that like I said earlier, should bring back. I did love that aspect of it. He didn't do anything with being King of the Ring. Like there was whereas Bret.
Yeah, he didn't even put the crown on, the scepter, nothing. He didn't do anything. Yeah, he didn't even sit in the throne.
Bret was known as a King of the Ring winner, right?
Sure.
Where I don't think people think of Brock as one, maybe. And Bret was the first one on pay-per-view anyway. I mean, yes, they had the King of the Ring tournament.
Right.
Previous years, not on TV.
Do you know he's the only 2-time winner?
Right, because he won one of the non-televised ones. But the first one is what, Don Morocco in like 85 or something?
Yep.
And obviously Harley Race won it once.
Yep.
I forget.
DiBiase, Macho Man.
Yeah. They were just live events, whatever. Yeah. But so Bret being the first one on pay-per-view, Bret wrestling 3 times in that one night, all different matches. I think he faced Bam Bam Bigelow.
In the final.
Yeah, in the finals. And I forget the other 2 matches, but they were all different opponents.
Yeah,
so he
very
really
different styles, too. Yeah, he really did a lot.
He got to showcase that he could work with anybody in one night, right?
Sure.
So that's why I'm going to keep Bret. And, Booker, it was the first one that they brought back after getting rid of it. And it was on SmackDown with finals were at Judgment Day with him and Lashley. But, at the time I remember being like, I wish it was a pay-per-view. It kind of felt less than a little bit. But what Booker did with that, he did the best out of any king.
Yeah, he's the only one. He's the only one.
Era. Like, yes, King Harley Race. He did,
But it didn't matter. All those were the shits compared to
King Booker, I mean, he really, took it to another level. And, Austin just having the biggest moment in WWE history. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the same, right? I'm actually going to go with Booker because Booker T is one of my favorite wrestlers. I thought it was cool, but, like, at that point, he was really not, I don't want to say a comedy wrestler, but he was everything he did had a little bit of a entertainment element, less the Booker T that I loved. Harlem Heat. When he was TV champion, he put on some of the best matches. Then he became WCW World Champion. Of course, Triple H buried him and ruined the rest of his career, but that's a conversation for another time. But no, I'm going to go with Booker T just because the other three, to your point, Freddie, is that he didn't do anything with it, but Brock becoming champ at SummerSlam, obviously, and then Bret Hart was like the quintessential kid for me, the quintessential wrestler when I was younger, right? The new generation, like that was like peak fandom. I was 5 years old. That just like kept growing at that point. That was also in Dayton or Richfield or whatever you want to call it. Ohio, yeah. So I can't believe my parents wouldn't take me. Unbelievable. But yeah, I'm like,
Columbus, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like an hour away. So it's pretty close, and I never got to go. So, it used to be super popular for wrestling.
The worst arena name, I think it changed now, but for years the Nutter
Center. It still is the Nutter Center. No, it's still the Nutter Center.
I thought it finally changed. Okay.
Nah, well, they call it something, but that's where they do the play-in games for NCAA. That's where those the Tuesday and Wednesday games. So.
And fun fact, Dayton, Ohio is also where Bret Hart returned in 2010.
Oh, shoot, I didn't know that. I didn't think about that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's kind of fun.
PJ,
but yeah, so I'm going to go with Booker. Go ahead, Miguel.
PJ, why do you keep referencing that you're from Ohio? I thought you're from like South Dakota or something like that.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Miguel. You go back to the mid-card where you belong. I'm the world champion. All right, one has to go.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. I'm just going to challenge you guys really quick. I think the only thing is Bret Hart, him winning King of the Ring, I don't think changed his trajectory at all. Whereas King Booker, I think that was the best gimmick he did while in WWE. Sure. Obviously, Brock, right, won the WWE Championship, and Austin, greatest run of all time after that.
No, yeah, I mean, like I said, this is an opinion-based show here, Miguel, and I get to do the judging. This isn't the chat. This isn't wrestling, Mark. Fred, tell him who I am.
Right.
All right.
My tribal chief.
All right, up next. So we did the best of the best. Now we're doing the best of the worst, and you gotta keep one. So sticking with that same thing, King of the Ring. These are the worst King of the Ring wins. Top left is King Mabel. I was the third man. Top right is King Harley Race, which is probably the worst part of his career. Bottom left is Mr. Ass Billy Gunn. And the bottom right is what would have been Triple H's crowning at that point, right? Was King of the Ring 97 for Triple H in the bottom right. But, of course, due to the curtain call, those things didn't happen. So those are the best of the worst. And, Freddie, I'm going to let you got to pick one. Which one you keeping?
I mean, I'm going to keep Triple H. I think, that's the best one out of all of them.
Sure.
Personally. I mean,
yeah. Seriously, it was, he was at the end. He was at the tail end of being Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Well, right. And he was supposed to win it the year before.
Right.
And thank God he didn't, though, right? Because we would have we probably never would have gotten the Austin 316.
Pretty crazy.
Isn't that crazy? You talk about the butterfly effect, right? It's fucking wild.
That is pretty wild. Okay, so you're going to go with Triple H.
I'm keeping Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
You're keeping him. All right, Miguel, what about you, man? Which one you keeping?
Well, you don't even have to ask him. Shit.
You don't have to ask me. I'm keeping Triple H.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're keeping that one because it's actually good. I don't know.
No, I mean, I just don't think the Jerry King Lawler one was funny, right? Because didn't Bret Hart call him the Burger King after he won it or something like that, right? So that one was kind of funny. But, I mean, Billy Gunn literally did nothing. And the King Mabel thing, I think, was cool at the time. But in all honesty, I mean, non-biased aside, Triple H was probably the one I would keep because I think that helped him elevate his career. It happened a year after it should have, right? He was supposed to win, as you guys know, the 1996 King of the Ring. But kind of glad he didn't because we got the Austin 316. And Triple H winning in 97 was pretty much the end of the Hunter Hearst Helmsley era and the start of the Triple H era in DX. So I'm keeping that.
Okay. I'm actually going to keep the Billy Gunn one because I think you just got to have the worst of the. I mean, he's the only one at that point who won and did not have. What's the saying? It's either didn't have a world title match. There's some story behind it. Either didn't have an actual world. There's some point of it at that point where they had been doing it. And he didn't win.
And I'm a big Billy Gunn fan, and I was then too. I always loved Mr.
Dude,
Ass.
Mr. Ass is maybe one of the best entrance songs too. They were on their shit.
Yeah, I was a big.
You did get a match with The Rock at SummerSlam, though, right?
I think.
Okay, so it was at some. Okay. I forget what the comment is. Maybe it's just like he's just like the most lackluster.
No, it wasn't a world title match. It was just a one-on-one match. But I think that's the only
one of my favorite JR calls of all time when The Rock puts Billy Gunn's face in that. Remember they had that fat lady.
Oh yeah.
And JR go, The Rock just shoved Billy Gunn's face in that large woman's ass. It's one of the greatest calls ever.
Wait,
That's
and
amazing.
we did get one of my favorite Rock promos of all time, where he pretended to talk as Billy.
Oh yeah,
God.
that was on Sunday
Dear
Night.
God,
Heat,
my name
crazy.
is Billy. My God! And when he said,
Bob,
and the heavens
my
opened
name
up,
is
and
Billy.
God Himself broke down and said, "Bob, but my name's Billy. It doesn't matter what your name is." I love that line.
That was on Sunday Night Heat. Oh my
That was on
god,
Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah.
unbelievable! Was that like the debut of Sunday Night Heat? And they were trying to get people to watch.
I know, right? Yo, they used to do sometimes some wild shit happen on Sunday Night Heat.
I know.
Sunday Night Heat thing. It was a Sunday Night Heat prior to Fully Loaded, but the famous Triple H sit down interview with JR. That was on Sunday Night Heat prior to Fully Loaded in July of '99.
That's back, ladies and gentlemen, when everybody was watching Sunday Night Heat, and not at the end when it was just Fred watching Sunday Night Heat.
when it went to WWE.com and it was on. They posted it on like a fucking Tuesday at 3 p.m. Yeah.
Terrible, man. What a time. Well, we have reached the end of the day, and I get to crown a world champion in Miguel. Unfortunately for you came up just short to the ticket god. Guy comes back shredded. He's got his arms out here. He's ready to cut a promo. Fred, tell us, man. You got 59 seconds.
59
Let's
seconds.
hear it. You get to rant for 59 seconds.
Well, speaking of being the ticket god, secured my ticket for SummerSlam. So I will be officially going to SummerSlam. Cleveland, Ohio, here I come. I'm going to go find your original home, and piss all over it, PJ. And I will trek my ass to Columbus and piss all over your property.
I will make sure to make my mother aware. Hey, there's going to be a small man pissing in the front yard at some point. If he's flexing and taking video, just let it happen.
So,
Unbelievable. The ticket god, where are you sitting, Freddie? I know you sent it to seats, but tell the good people.
Yeah, it's not that anybody's going to fucking know, but section 135, row 10, kind of the center, near the entrance. So, yeah, pretty good seat. I'm excited for it. It'll be my 4th SummerSlam in a row, so I'm looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to be on this podcast again to talk about it. Can't wait for the build of SummerSlam to come up.
Same, man.
One of my favorites events of the year. So
Unbelievable we've made it this far. The podcast, man, this is week 14. We missed last week, but week 14, I can't believe
when did we right in January, February? When did it start?
Whatever, 14 weeks ago.
It was before the Rumble, I think.
It was before I started my job, right? No, I don't think we did Rumble. No, it was right after the Rumble.
It was after the Rumble because we did the special on Scott.
Yeah, we did. That's what made me think of it. That's what made me do it. Yeah, you're right. That's right.
What I'm thinking of.
That's right. So pretty crazy, man. We've made it this far.
Here we are.
Thank you guys for joining us, man. Again, if you're watching on Twitch Live, thank you for joining tonight. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate it. iTunes, Spotify, all y'all listening in. And a big shout out to my 2 guests, man. Miguel, thanks for finally getting on, dude. Again, as much as me and Miguel, he is my arch nemesis in the chat, but outside of the chat, he is a very dear friend of mine, and I wouldn't have known all these guys if it wasn't for Migs. So thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for chatting wrestling. Fred, I'm glad you made it back from Puerto Rico. You're still alive. The old FD RT is on right now, so I'm very excited for that for the Fred DeCourt Revenge Tour. But with that being said, I am PJ North. Thank you guys for joining us at Around the Mat. Until next time.